I'll just on my computer.
Oh,
No
well,
worries.
there you go.
Let me start. And oh, there's two on there.
Hey Steph, can that be projected on this screen? Because I'm getting a lot of reflection off the window,
Let me do this first.
like meaning on both.
Yeah, let me just get these guys in because it's a little hard for my old lady eyes to see. We got our little guys there. Okay. Okay. Is Mike comfortable with that?
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all good.
Okay.
How about you, Vince?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, there's
Really strong glasses.
Randy?
wearing those middle ones. You ever see far and you can sort of see close?
Want to come sit here with Teddy?
Okay.
Yeah. Go on over. You know? Okay.
Oops.
Oh,
Yep. There we go. Yeah, is everyone there? I'm just seeing.
well, because this.
Oh, you can't do both
no.
screens.
Oh, can I do both screens?
I gotcha. I thought you were still making things
Have you ever
happen.
seen it done both screens?
Oh, I'll just use y'all. Look at yours.
Okay.
That's even better.
Okay.
Can everyone hear all right? Stick a thumb up. Wonderful. Excellent.
Oh, there's Christina. Oh, that's just John Reed. I see. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. Let's get underway. First item here, we've got an approval of the agenda.
No
We're
late
looking for no late items. Super.
Oh, I see.
presentations.
We're gonna hand up there from
Yeah.
Vince. Others? Super. And secondly, but I think there's a date typo there,
Okay.
minutes of the October 28th, 2023 meeting. Which
What does it have?
was it 22 or
22?
21?
20, something 20.
The minutes say 2021.
2021,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
not 2023.
Okay.
So let's move to adopt the minutes. Betty, thank you.
Second.
Jeremy, perfect. Minutes adopted. And do we have any public comments?
When do you want the applicants to speak?
Yeah, I'll just say since chair, so I know we have the architect and the owners for the DVP discussion that we have with us, and we also have the applicant for the item 5.1,
Yeah,
so we have them both here, so I don't know whether it's sort of up to you and the committee. Do you want to hear like just in the public comment section or in the actual item?
it seems to make more sense than the actual item. I was thinking if there were, other than applicant comments, we'd hear them in the public comments, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's gonna be more pertinent, probably.
Yeah.
So then we're into new business, 4.1, development permit application, 1104 and 1108 Foxglove Lane. Daniel, you're gonna do an opening to that, or?
I'll do a presentation. Somebody's gonna let me present.
Okay.
That's okay with you. That will be on that screen.
Great.
Okay,
Thanks,
so.
Daniel.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, especially I'll go through it in the presentation, but just to note for the committee, this is just like a sort of a step different than often an application you get, and this is an application for a development variance permit rather than a development permit. And to note that if council goes ahead with the variance permit, if the variance permit is approved, the project would still need a development permit, and so you would still expect a referral of a development permit on the site.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's really helpful.
Okay, so I'm
And so, yeah, you'll notice like in that sort of the design of it, it's like it's not at that detailed development permit stage drawings. You don't have like landscaping details or. Yeah.
Okay, slideshow.
Bottom right, there's a little button that goes
Oh,
into the slider. Right, so this is an application for a development variance permit, and I'll just ask people on Zoom, can you hear me okay? Okay, excellent. Okay. Yeah, so this is an application for a development variance permit at 2 of the lots on Foxglove Lane, which is the area next to the proposed Stunco House development at the end of Miller Road, but at the Stunco Village end of Miller Road. And if you want to go next slide, Steph.
Sorry, Daniel, one point of clarity. There are 2 zones, if you will, for the ADP's involvement. One is specific to Snug Cove, the other is peripheral.
Yeah.
Is this peripheral or is this?
It's peripheral.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I'll go through it and step over the next. Open, you can locate it. Right, and so this is just big picture. This is, oh, sorry, if you go back one. Development variance permit application we received essentially is for the two of the lots on Foxglove, each of which are zoned to have duplexes on them. Instead, the owners of the adjacent lots propose to essentially consolidate those 2 lots to build 1 fourplex on the lot. And in order to, and part of this sort of history relates to the Snug Cove sewer moratorium on additional building permits. So these are some of the properties affected. So the applicants have proposed building a septic field in the back of the site to consolidate the lots to build more towards the front of the, and then the applicants can speak to it as well, but they identified essentially to compensate for the financial hardship of building the septic field is to build additional floor space within the building.
Can you show the plan again? Show the plan again?
This one, just the property, that's a little harder to see and we'll go through, but essentially it's 2 of those lots. So if you go there now, there's 2 duplexes side by side, there's 2 vacant lots and there's an existing duplex. And so these 2 lots are the same size as those, which those 2 duplexes are built on. Just in terms of process, so we received an application for the variance permit in September of 2022. We did an internal review. We had a series of amendments from the applicant, sent initial notice in April of 2023, introduced it to council at that May 8th meeting, and council at that meeting referred the application to the ADP and the APC. So looking for initial comment on the application before that they would do the before they would issue notice to the public and set a consideration date for variance. So at that meeting, council had concerns about the proposed septic, had concerns about sort of the potential impact on neighbors and compliance with OCP and development permit guidelines, and heard from neighbors who, so the application had support from some adjacent neighbors that are in the report, and they also heard concerns from some other neighbors about the sort of the proposed building. Yeah, and so in terms of this process, this would be the process for the variance permit, is that we would come to the ADP for a recommendation, we come to the APC for a recommendation, bring it back to council. Council at that point to issue the variance permit would have to do the notice period to set a date for consideration, and then could consider it at a future date. If a variance was issued, the application would still need a development permit before it could build, and so would be coming back to this panel for the sort of detailed development permit application. Right, so then this is what I brought to council essentially, is we have this property is within what's called the village residential designation, and the OCP has policies about applications for townhouses in the village residential designation. And so that policy 160 talks about provided the following criteria are satisfied, the scale and character of the development can blend in with the surrounding natural environment. Talks about impacts on adjacent properties pertaining to traffic, privacy, screening, and views can be adequately managed. And then policy 167 saying proposed development must be consistent with the scale and diversity of the village. Townhouses should be designed to minimize detrimental effects on adjacent single detached homes. And just to note, this property, this is our OCP map showing the DP area. So this is within the village periphery. So in the village revitalization area, so the areas in pink have the very detailed design guidelines, have our design guidelines and pages of it. And our periphery, on the next slide, I have just the guidelines, but essentially it's like this much more pared down list. So it's 5 items for the guidelines. So the first one is about landscaping proposals, generally incorporate native vegetation. Number 2, design of buildings and landscaping should minimize obstruction of views from existing properties, blend in well with existing natural features, impression of small scale building forms, and connect with the proposed pathway system for the village. About parking. Number 4 is buildings should reflect the character of the nearby village commercial areas through appropriate choice of finishes, materials, and natural colors. And then 5, siting variances may be included in a development permit subject to the approval of council. So those are the extent of those guidelines for the village periphery. Next. Yeah, so this is their DVP application itself. So the first column being what's currently permitted in the zoning. The second one is what they would propose in their application, and the third one being if the variance is being requested. So right, so there's a setback requested for a reduction for the setback to a building from 3 meters to 2.1 meters. But we've noted here that the zoning does allow a carport to be located closer than that to the front lot line, but not a building. There's a request for a building height variance where the bylaw right now allows 11 meters or 3 stories in height. And they proposed a building that's 10.4 meters in height, but contains 4 stories. So the variance would be to the number of stories, but not the increase in building height. The the bylaw allows a maximum FSR of 0.85. So that would be up to 464 square meters of floor area. And the proposal is for a FSR of 1.34. So floor area of 728 square meters. So it's an increase of about 260 square meters or 2,800 square feet additional floor area. And then finally, the zoning has a maximum dwelling size of 140 square meters, which is about 1,500 square feet. And the application is to increase that to be 182 square meters, which is about 1,900 square feet. And then this is just from the plan provided. So this is essentially a cross section of the building itself. So parking on the ground floor, living room for the units on the second floor, bedrooms, bathrooms on the third, and then the top floor being additional bedrooms. And if you want to go to the next one. And this one, it's harder to read from where I am, but it's essentially showing the context compared to the neighboring properties and looking at specifically the ridge height. And then the ridge height permitted in Snug Cove House project should proceed. So essentially the current duplexes that are built so that their ridge height is about 40.5 meters in elevation. And the proposal, while meeting the height regulations in our bylaw, would be at 42 meters in height. So it'd be about 1.5 meters taller surrounding buildings while still conforming to our height regulations. Yes, and then this was included in the applicant's submission showing an alternate possible upper floor and roof massing. So, considering what the impact would be changing essentially the massing of breaking up that top floor instead of being sort of one side to side floor, but being two peaks and with a lower peak. So this has the ridge at 40.9 meters instead of 42 meters. That's the end of what I'd had. So yeah, so I'll stop there and hand it back to you, Mike. And I don't know at this point if you wanted to hear from applicants.
Yeah, maybe we should, rather than speaking now, I think.
Should I go ahead?
That would be great. Thanks, Robin.
Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Robin Fenton. I'm the architect who's been hired by the owners of this property. I will see if I can share my screen. Hopefully this will work. Pick the correct screen here. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen. I think, I mean, I don't want to just go over the entire proposal, but, and I'm going to let the client speak to the sort of financial aspects, but essentially what we're proposing and why the clients are seeking, or what they're seeking in terms of the variance, is to add more floor area. So there's a bit more value in the property and when it's built to offset the burden of building the septic system. So you can see, I think, have I got it, which level here? Oh, sorry, I'll flip to the other plans. We've got the septic system. Oh, maybe I'm not showing it clearly. The septic system's taking up like quite a large part of the backyard. So when we go up to this main floor, the septic system, why we have to move the building. So to address the first one, why we're moving the building farther forward is that the septic system's taking up quite a lot of the backyard. And then the additional square footage is to add that extra bedrooms and the extra value to the property. So instead of going for sort of 1,400 square foot approximately units, if they're up to sort of that 1,800 square foot, and pretty much most of that is that extra top floor. And I did want to point out for sure, we working through the process and hearing feedback from the neighbors of the original design. And please do keep in mind, these were concepts just simply to sort of see what the clients could fit, what could fit on the property and to seek this variance. So we did come back with this alternative massing for the rooftop to sort of be a little bit more similar to the existing buildings, bringing down the roof height, allowing that bit of a view corridor kind of through the middle. Because I know Bowen Court had concerns, and yeah, and I think the massing's just a little better overall. So I'd certainly be recommending to the clients that we would probably pursue this as a design option, and pleased to hear feedback from this committee. And I'll probably pass it along. I don't know if the owners, they're on the line. I don't know if they want to speak at all to the financial aspects, but I'll stay on the line. Of course, I can be here to answer any questions if you need anything clarified.
Thanks, Robin.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for allowing us to talk. My name is Dane Thompson, and Jay is here as well. We are the applicants. If my voice is a little weak, do let me know. When I'm looking at the role of the advisory design panel, with regards to finishing and color and landscaping and stuff like that, there's not a lot that we can say, which Daniel has already addressed with you. We're one step before coming before you, and we don't have even plans or blueprints. You have what we have, which is just a conceptual drawing. With respect to speaking about the OCP policies and what have you, that even those items in the policy we're unable to give answers to. We're here to answer anything though, because we haven't reached that stage yet. And I'm assuming that municipal staff has already shared all relevant correspondence with this panel from both Jay and myself prior to the meeting, because our position has been stated in correspondence already, and we're not able to make any further changes other than the last alternative design presented by Robin. We've been working with the municipality for about 1.5 years and consistently have implemented several changes recommended, and as already stated by Daniel. Implementing those changes has been substantial and really deviated from our initial drawings, which is fine. But it shows our continual commitment to try to resolve and definitely mitigate the financial impacts that we have sustained, because we have sustained damages by the decisions made in council in January of 2022. I'm going to let Jay speak to that. But at this point, all I wanted to say is we do appreciate the opportunity to speak to the panel, and we're here to answer any and all questions within the scope of the responsibility of the panel. And I thank Robin for speaking as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dane. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Dane. I actually don't have a whole lot to add. I think Dane hit it, but I just know just kind of a generic or just a statement of where I'm at in general is definitely this process has exhausted me in terms of time, energy, and resources. And I find myself kind of at the end of all three of those. And that's all I have to share regarding this whole process.
Well, thank you both, Jay and Dane. It goes without saying that the situation you're in is exceptionally frustrating. I fully understand. I have friends in a similar situation in that development. And but a bit of history here. Obviously, there's a time frame that doesn't work for anybody with respect to what the municipality has said about expanding the sewer plant. And I'm not hearing much about it right now. Can someone just tell me what the time frame is for that?
I guess it's
Never,
phase
never.
one of the project, was initiated. I get blurry, but it has been underway and is sort of the commissioning stage and nearing end of completion. And phase two of the sewer plant does not have a committed budget.
And this development to be on sewer needs phase two.
Yes. Or. Yes, yeah, like the plan sort of, circulated by our director of engineering is that this would be a phase two project.
Because it is a serious investment, what you're talking about in that septic system. And it's a 20 to 25 year piece of the project that, or longer, depending on, how you maintain it. But if, you're stuck in a place where you can't do anything without solving that. You can't sell it, you can't build, you can't do anything without putting in your own septic system. That's ultimately what's going on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
In terms of just a little clarity on our purview in a situation like this, because it's by far not a normal situation. So really, the only thing we can comment is on the variance requested at this time which would be a setback and area, and that's pretty much it, right?
I mean,
Because it's not far enough along to comment on scale and
Possibly
materiality and stuff like that, yeah.
Possibly height as well, depending on the massing, how that,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so
I mean-
only those three.
yeah, how I see it is like I see. Council referred this to the design panel in part because council had concerns that the building as proposed couldn't fit within the DP guidelines. And in particular, it's like, design of buildings and landscaping should minimize obstruction of views from existing properties, blend in all the existing natural features, give the impression of small scale building forms. So like that specific clause in the guidelines. And so council was looking for the design panel's feedback. So one, the variance requested, and then two, it's like how you would see this building fitting within those guidelines. So it could be that your advice is, maybe they should think about doing these changes or something would provide the floor area, but without the impact or whatever it may be. Like, I don't want to, prejudge, but like, so the variance proposed, but also like, if you say, well, with these factors, it could be addressed or.
It conceptually could be, but we're not here to make that call yet. They're not far enough along. They only have iterations there. I probably have many more iterations previously, but basically only say it has a potential to fall within those.
Well, then, for instance, one thing we could comment on is those two different massings, and I've got a pretty solid opinion on which I think we get better traction as they move forward.
Yes.
But one question, and maybe I just missed it, but is this a single fourplex lot or was it two duplex lots?
It's currently two duplex lots and the proposal is to consolidate into one lot.
And that's better financially than doing two duplexes and not bothering with all of the effort with surveyors and so on to consolidate?
I can speak to that. We don't have, we literally don't have a choice. According to Craig Roger and others, we have to combine the lots because the septic field, as you see, takes up the entire backyard.
Yeah, but you could do a, what do you call that? Like where both properties have interest in each other's backyard, right? And still separate lots.
Like an easement, like a shared.
Yeah.
Like one common septic field with the two duplexes.
Yeah.
Not considered, but I do appreciate you putting that up. Thank you.
Just, it does seem like effort which relates to expense to explore a fourplex as opposed to two duplexes.
I mean, the fourplex leads to like a more, I guess, efficient design and that you
True.
now have whatever the setback is on each side, you've,
Yeah.
you know, a meter in between.
Yeah.
the buildings.
And there isn't a rezoning required for that, is there?
There's not a rezoning, it's a variance.
Just a variance.
Yeah, but it's not considered an increase in.
Okay,
I'm sorry, David, you're cutting up.
yeah,
Does David want to type in the chat or email me and we can, or email the committee, we can read it out loud?
David?
He looks very confident.
Yes, if you can hear us.
Yeah.
It's, for me, it's helpful to hear some of this history and as to why the design and the process is where it is at right now with respect to, you know, how it's moving forward. But like Vince said, in some ways, I'm glad we're looking at this right now because it would be unfortunate if certain massing ideas you're presenting right now got no feedback from us and you came back with something that you know was more difficult to support than something else. Sue Ellen, I think I see a hand up there.
Yeah, thank you. Two things. One is a suggestion for David Riddle to turn off his video, so all the bandwidth can go to.
Oh, yeah, I can hear you very well.
Yeah, but we can't hear you. So try turning off your video, and Zoom is one platform that the technology will all go to the audio department, and hopefully we'll be able to hear you, because I would love to hear what you've got to say too. Second thing is, just for the applicants and anybody who doesn't know, I am a member of council who's also on this committee. So just to make sure you know that that you're not surprised later. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue Ellen. David, can you speak?
Hey, Mike, can you
You're
hear me
coming
now?
in. Yes, you're coming in clearly, and you were saying something.
better?
Let's hear it. David?
So I was thinking that the I guess it would be lot number 5 and 6. That's a fourplex, yeah. We joined those two and became that fourplex down below.
David, we can't quite hear enough.
Not of the duplex variety, but they were down below on the
David, we're having trouble hearing enough to understand what you're saying.
on the front of the road. Nobody hears me.
If I could jump in, it's Robin
Yeah.
Fenton here. Sorry to interrupt. I think David's
Thanks, Robin.
referring
It's not
to
working.
the other fourplex that's been built. And I
Huh?
was also the
Yeah,
architect on that one.
I'll
So
try
there's a
to I'll
Mhm.
try to use the chat part because I am in a different world here. Okay, I'll try chat. I can hear you. It's great, guys. Keep it up.
I think he's telling us to go ahead.
And
Okay, we think we understand what you said, David. And that was,
Understand.
just keep going.
I think what he was talking about too was that there is a fourplex in that
Yeah.
development, and Robin Fenton was the architect for
Yeah.
that.
I did catch that much. I thought there was more to what he was saying. Yes, certainly there's precedent for it. And back to Vince's point about what's our role here with this application. We could go on about things that the APC has probably weighed in on that length.
They haven't met yet.
And so it doesn't make sense, but with respect to those two massings. That one of them certainly is more in keeping with. What's going on the properties already with respect to roof pitches. Blocking views in behind, et cetera, et cetera. I think it was massing B where the roof lines seem to be more sympathetic to what's been built there so far, as opposed to rotating 90 degrees with a ridge line that's running more northwest or north-south.
You can keep it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Oh, but now it's under all the people stuff.
Okay,
Is there an issue with blocking height for Bowen Court and behind?
So Bowen Court came to the council meeting and did express concerns with the height in this proposal. So this is proposal A with the sideways view and higher, even though it conforms to the, like, it may conform to the land use bylaw height, but they viewed it as a large impact on their view.
Yeah.
And so definitely from that point of view, it's like having this option where they're matching the ridge heights that would be permitted as duplexes with a spin, you know, then at least it's.
But this one doesn't, oh, sorry, this one does meet it, the previous one does not.
This one does still meet our height. Like our height allowance in the land use bylaw, they're allowed 11 meters if it's within 11 meters.
Yep.
But in terms of a porosity through mass, you know, that's, yeah.
Well, I was even gonna say, if there's a struggle to make it work with option B's massing, I could certainly see a variance that has slightly more height involved in it if it makes it plan work.
Mhm.
And does such a better job of permitting views and light through to behind.
Yeah.
I've been involved in a very similar challenge in Seashell with respect to roof profiles and not blocking views.
I concur. I think that it looks more interesting as well, apart from providing views through and so on. It building has a more interesting complexity aesthetically.
Yeah. That says one large one and more like two.
Yeah. Yeah, it breaks down the massing.
Yeah.
Rodney, any thoughts?
I agree that this one works better and for all the ways she said. I mean, I find the whole development over there very intense, but.
That's a good word for it.
Yes.
Another thing I would comment on is, it's a very positive way, I think you've been dealing with 4 parking stalls because. And that's generated extra height. But it really is working towards one of the prerogatives there to reduce views of unsightly things like cars.
Doesn't it also have the septic tanks under it?
It's the septic, I think, is behind the cars. Is that right?
Underneath.
I can speak to that. The septic tank
Yeah.
is under the driveway. It has to be a concrete septic tank. We have to blast down and it goes under the driveway.
Right. Fun for access in 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's a solution.
And none of that septic stuff's in our purview,
No.
right? So.
No.
Yeah.
But I was thinking the parking it's a nice solution to dealing with some of the
Yeah.
issues that are in the peripheral.
And sorry, Mike, I see Sue Ellen has her hand up.
Yeah, oh, sorry, you're not on any of my screens, Sue Ellen. Sue Ellen, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks, committee. I'm just going, I'm interested as one counselor who hasn't talked to any other counselors about it, but who happens to be really concerned about climate change, climate action, active transportation. And I'm wondering whether the committee has any comments about the idea of removing the parking requirement completely. Thank you.
Oh, yes.
I have real concerns about removing parking from housing because it all is going to end up in the cove and around. It's just going to end up in other places. People, I agree with you. Our world needs to change and all of this, but I have a hard time with this. We're already in short on parking as it is on the island, and it tends to end up down in one place, a lot of it.
Well, and a lot
The
of
second
parking,
design is much better.
thanks, Otis. A lot of parking ends up filled with bicycles
Yeah.
as well. It's that place where you can keep that method of transportation that you use, whether it's a car, a bike. One of those fancy one-wheel things that we're seeing now, a scooter. I agree. If you don't have a place to put whatever it is that gets you around, it's gonna end up outside somewhere.
You wouldn't be able to, would you be able to build a living space on top of septic tanks directly? Anyway,
That's a good question, Ministry of Health question. Those setbacks that I've dealt with in the past are there specifically for that reason.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it might be the only use directly
Yeah.
over top of it anyway.
yeah, true. I think typically you have to be, a septic tank has to be 5 feet away from the exterior of your house. I believe that's currently the.
I don't want to take up too much of the committee's time with this. I just wanted to put the question out there just out of my
Yeah.
interest. Thanks a lot and
Thanks,
continue.
Ellen. So with respect to our role on this application, I think that we've all spoken to what we've seen with respect to a design component.
Yeah.
And I know it's time and money, but I certainly would welcome whenever you can, getting back with more elaborate exterior illustration of what's going on.
I'm just curious, Daniel, were there any other adjacent lot owners who had issues and what they were? Thing that we might.
So the issues with this variance application? Yeah, so we heard from Owen Court members concerned about the size and especially the potential impact on their views, and we heard from some of the neighbors in the Foxglove neighborhood. Sorry, I'm just pulling up those minutes so I can.
I think they were mostly supportive, weren't they?
Well, with the application, the applicant submitted support from some of the property owners. And then at the meeting, we heard concerns from like almost newer residents of Foxglove.
Right. And you're just looking for those, Daniel?
Yeah, I just try to look for.
Yeah.
Things we heard from two. So just three people with concerns, one from Bowen Court and then two Foxglove residents had concerned about the size and the massiness of the thing. Essentially felt like it was out of scale with the existing development of Foxglove's existing complexes.
Right.
Even though it's ostensibly a more effective use of space.
Yeah.
Than to have two separate buildings.
Yeah.
But they increased the square footage quite a bit, right?
Mhm.
But it would be true too.
Yeah.
Glad it's not on the front. It'd be a trickier application, I think, if it were the front lots.
You know,
Well, they wouldn't have the space, they're really.
The front lots are smaller.
They're smaller.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's why, it's like, you can see, right, the fourplex is built, one of the end is built.
Yeah.
half the middle are affected by the building permit.
Yeah.
Moratorium. They don't have room, like, these people do have room by combining, there's like technically room to fit it. We wouldn't have that room on the front lots.
On the far north, isn't that lot allocated for a greater size? Is it the far north?
Like Snug Cove House itself, like that.
Yeah, what's, yeah.
Yeah,
So in terms of just general massing, this won't necessarily be the largest.
it might fit in. with
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah,
right, like they don't have the plans here, those plans have gone to council for a variance, but then hasn't proceeded to development permit. Like I think Like this, I'm just gonna share, I'm just showing, because they've sort of have sketched in that roof line. Oh, now it's not showing that at all. So essentially this first one showing like essentially that,
Yeah,
you know, he's showing a higher roof line, 42 meters.
yeah,
It impacts for Bowen Court, it impacts differently. And then, you know, where this is looking out from Bowen Court's lawn, looking at the mountains, this is in the way, and so that Cove House is sort of more like you're looking side.
Yeah.
Way on, so,
Are these proposed as rentals or is that or?
I don't know, yeah, there's no restriction, so the assumption would be that there would be stratified units.
It might have been.
It's just street market.
Yeah.
right. Okay. I think Steph's been putting together some notes for us here.
So just the 4 comments I have was about the massing option B was the preferred option. And that you would even suggest extending the height variance if it were necessary to make that work.
Would be willing to review.
Willing to read it.
Yeah. Willing to consider.
Okay, and extending the height variance, okay? I can share this when I share it.
I would think that in accepting the general idea of expanding the footprint and so on, if that seemingly could be compensated if the design is congruent with the existing buildings. I mean, if it's a fetching design, people are much more apt to accept it. And by that, I mean in the sense of creatively adapting that bigger mass, well, differentiating it more for starters. Do that, the smaller peaks at the top would be in that direction. Any number of things, I don't know, be it documents or anything that adds detailing that matches or reflects in some way.
Definitely.
The existing, it makes it just more congruent.
Yeah.
That's ultimately a design issue, but it could, I think, be related to making the larger footprint more and mass more acceptable.
Yeah, even the color palette, how that plays a
color
role.
palette, yeah. And all those things are important things relating to its acceptability in the context.
Is that a bullet point?
May end up there. Let's hear what you've got there.
But then consider possibly sharing the backyards of the 2 duplex lots via easements rather than dividing to 1 lot for 4plex.
Well, it was a comment, yeah. We should
But that's not
probably keep that in there, but oh, it's a suggestion? No.
No.
I don't think so.
That can come out then.
Yeah.
You like the parking plan as presented?
Mhm.
A better word than is good. I'm so hot. It's good.
Good.
So.
It's a nice solution.
Okay, thank you.
Meeting peripheral guidelines.
There we go.
Wow.
Village peripheral.
Not gonna
Yeah.
write that.
Peripheral. Yes.
Guidelines.
That's right.
There you go.
He was trying to talk again. Free.
David's hanging out.
And then there's just something about wanting
Well-
something interesting or.
We're really looking forward to an elaboration of the character.
In order to break down the mass.
Yeah.
So we can do our job.
That came through.
David, that came through.
Character in order to break down. Yes.
And maybe we should indicate that that's relevant to the acceptability of the variance.
Yeah.
Variance.
Okay,
Uh,
Yeah,
It is pivotal.
it is.
And
An elaboration.
development,
of the area right
no,
down
don't
the
need a
bed,
development
We
permit.
do need a development.
Okay,
which would make the variance more acceptable or acceptable.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, able to meet the DP guidelines or something like that, or is
Yeah.
that what you're trying to get at, like?
more
I
likely.
think could work if it's done
Yeah.
well through
Yes.
the.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But they are integral in the sense that
They are.
the variance becomes more acceptable in the context of a building that is characterful and fits. So,
Well, and a typical variance application has a lot more elaboration on the character.
Yeah.
Than the massing
If
would.
that stipulation is made as a
Condition.
Yeah.
condition of this committee to say that that's a.
Really good idea.
Mhm.
Hey, Mike,
Hey, Sue Ellen.
I just want to point out, I don't know if it was mentioned, but Dave Riddell has replied in the chat. And it might have been something that the committee might want to hear.
Probably.
Mhm.
This is just a fraud. A DeCourcy fraud.
I'm assuming it's about the
Yeah.
parking idea. And because that's when it shows up on the timing. And so I just wanted to flag that was there. Can you see it, or do you want me to read it out?
I can read it out. It said,
Okay.
yep, or 2 places, do it like Saanich, no car at all allowed if you own a condo in a specific location. I think that's support for Sue Ellen's idea of reducing the parking requirement.
Well, I think, and I'm just thinking, I'm sort of following along a little further here. If you had adequate storage, it was too small to fit a car, then
Yeah.
you're starting to achieve some of what a garage does.
Yeah.
So, but I don't recall seeing anything to that effect in the plan.
But we don't have any FSR exclusion.
No. Right. So potentially that lowest floor, I mean, if you follow through the design dialogue here, that lowest floor could either just become storage. But somehow, like Vince was saying, we need to separate the upper building from the septic tanks.
Yeah, because I'm sure.
Is that even within our purview?
No, but it sort of, it relates to the cars and.
Council asked for your comments
Yeah.
outside
Does it
of
relate
your
to the
usual
variance?
role. Yeah.
Potentially the height.
Yeah, because if you didn't have the car there, that whole section would drop, and then you
could
would
do a
have
split
your
level.
ramping up of mass, but. It's
It's a moot point if you
Yeah,
can't,
exactly.
you can't
Yeah.
build
on
directly
top.
on the subject.
Yeah.
Well, that needs to be clarified, I guess.
And then you had the comment about the fourplex. Or after the duplexes, that was a
Yeah.
while back. Okay,
Yeah.
so back to the recommendation then.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. So parking plan presented a solution to meet the village periphery guidelines. The ADP is looking forward to an elaboration of the character in order to break down the mass, which would make the variance more likely to meet the development permit guideline, or
Yeah.
area guidelines.
It's development permit guidelines.
But under your second point, we might have a second sentence.
Okay.
Suggesting the applicant look into alternative uses for their garage space. And car usage. I'm involved in a project, a tower in Mission, where we've reduced the parking requirement to a quarter because we've introduced a car share program.
Yeah,
We should do that on an island. Do you want to come to the transportation
No.
advisory committee? Hear your ideas. What was the rest of that sentence? This is for.
Garage space and car usage or automobile usage.
Does the committee agree with that?
mhm.
Sorry, it's Robin Fenton here. Am I able to jump in? Because maybe I could address that now.
Thanks, Robin.
So we are required, and Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are required to provide one car space per unit. So if we were to reduce that, it would be a variance. And I'm going to guess the owners won't want to do that because that likely will diminish the value of the properties. So that's one aspect. But in
Yep.
terms of, even if we did look at alternatives, you're correct with the septic tanks. I don't know the exact details, but we can't build living space over it. It has to be accessible for maintenance and everything. And you know, there's smells and all sorts of things. So you can't put living space there. So, and I believe, again, Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, from memory, we can't build a garage per se. That's not allowed for the design guidelines. It can be a carport, which is what we suggested, but you can't have a door on it. It has to be like open. So we are kind of restricted again by the minimum parking required, the design guidelines for the Snug Cove development. So yeah, I'm not sure what you'd be looking for there. That's the only thing I don't know how to answer that. Alternative uses for the garage space.
Yeah, because if you can't put a door on it, you can't.
Yeah,
Store anything in there.
you can't lock it. That's a good point. Yeah, bikes get stolen, even on Bowen.
Yeah.
And we have
So,
allowed, there is
let's take it.
storage, there is storage proposed at the back. So behind that car space, past the septic tanks, there is meant to be a storage space to hide your garbage, your recycling, because that's a requirement of the design guidelines. And then I believe we've shown like a storage room because, you know, everybody needs storage. So that is provided in the plans.
Great. We won't put that line in then.
Yeah.
People don't have to have a car.
Yeah, but they all do.
Yeah. Currently, that's right. Can we read the whole thing?
Yeah, you want
Let's
to do the
it.
honors?
Let's do it. Let's hear it, Steph.
That the advisory design panel provide the following comments regarding PVP 0282. Love Lane, that massing option B be selected so as not to block views and to provide aesthetic complexity. ADP members would be willing to consider extending the height variance to make that design work, that kind of design work.
That roofing approach.
That tight.
Roof massing. Roof massing. That'd be.
Frog's okay with that? Parking plan presented is a nice solution to meeting village periphery guidelines. And the ADP is looking forward to an elaboration of the character in future presentations.
Yeah.
Sorry, in order to break down the mass, which would make the variance more likely to meet the development permit guidelines.
Sounds good to me.
So do we have to have a resolution on the other items like setback and all that kind of stuff?
I don't think you need to, like, if you don't have sort of comment on it, you don't need to, and I think you're saying essentially that the max option B would address. Would more better, like, address some of the concerns and comply with the guidelines.
And I think if we start weighing into that, we're going into territory that's really redundant with APC.
I see.
That's the best.
Mhm.
That's the best as our hand up.
Oh, Sue Ellen?
Hi, just wanting to suggest for the first bullet, the word porosity was a great one that I heard during the conversation. Porosity for views is what I wrote down. And I think that might help counselors understand if that's what you mean, porosity for views. Thank you.
Well, just light and, you know, break up the mass.
Gee. Red line, well done.
No you in porosity.
Yeah.
That means something else.
It
That
does.
was for the distillery discussion.
Yeah.
Want to make it bigger?
No, I'm sorry.
I can.
It's, if you read it, it's.
Yeah, we might need to add a word or something there.
This could be my eyesight.
How's that?
Beautiful.
Okay. We have the essence.
I think with it, visual porosity. It's kind of confusing still.
just leaking.
That's what it is, visual porosity, not the ability to absorb water.
Yeah. There, then you'd use the U. Looks good.
We okay? You wanna? Christina and.
Wait, Christina, any comments?
I know, I agree with what's been said. I mean, I think, no, I agree.
Thumbs up.
Super.
Call a vote.
Yeah, so all in favor of what we've read from staff?
Roddy, Ian?
I'm not a member.
Carried.
Right.
Oh, right.
I think I hear David Riddell trying to say something.
I heard something there, David.
It's an aye.
Or was it aye?
I said aye. Yes, aye, Captain.
Okay.
Okay, good. Stop. Whoa. Thank you all. What a complexity. It's unfortunate you're in this situation, I have to say. It's I don't think anybody forecasted this, but it is what it is.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So we're moving on to 433 Bowen Trunk Road, proposed DBP application. And Daniel, I think you're speaking to that as well, are you? Yeah, great.
I'll present and you can do that when they ask for certain slides. Do you have it on?
Yeah,
Okay. Anybody want to talk before?
no, you can pull it up and I'll just say, this is an application that we received sort of initial application for just last week. And so it hasn't had like a full review and it's not a full application, but the new owner of the building wanted to hear the design panel's initial thoughts. And we thought, knowing that we haven't met in 2 years and we're meeting next week, it's a good opportunity to.
We're here for a while.
Yeah.
Good thinking.
So that probably is 433 Bowen Island Trunk Road, and if you go next, Seth, it's the Rustique property. So shown there, and if you go to the next slide, Seth, it's just like a slightly bigger. So you'll see the property itself has this sort of odd shape. You can see it in the building. It essentially takes up half of the lot and the other half is open, but with this sort of triangles on each side. And if you go next one, Steph, just to refresh, this is just blatantly taken from Street View, but from April to give people an idea. So it's a low 1-story building. It's a wood fence around the exterior with an outside patio and a tree in the middle. And then what is proposed is we have this initial site plan. So the applicant is looking at building essentially an outdoor atrium. So that's what's shown. I can't read it direct here, but yeah, where it says atrium, so there's an existing tree, but then proposing essentially like picnic table seating and then atrium and then artisan tents around, and to open up the fence. If you look, it's sort of hard to pick out, but on the far bottom of the site plan, what is currently a fence along the sidewalk area is instead replaced with the planters. And the applicant is also looking at doing interior work that doesn't fall under the DP guidelines, but sort of as part of the whole overall concept for the site. And then Steph, if you go to the next one. And it's just some of the design concepts that are shown at this point. So the branding of the restaurant is Tippy's with that color scheme. This is largely the interior design for it. And then the next slide, Steph, shows essentially the design concept considered from the outside. So that glass atrium, the existing tree in the middle, the planters at the bottom right, the wood shingles, the dark blue siding, the picnic tables, wooden fencing and concrete panels. Then that was about it. So yeah, essentially at this point, we're looking for initial feedback from the applicant or from the ADP. One thing that staff had flagged is that the glass atrium is proposed would be considered floor area by our bylaws, would trigger a parking requirement. The property currently has no parking, right? And so then it would trigger parking requirement for the restaurant as well as the exterior space. And so would need that variance permit application to council.
No parking at all then, it's proposed?
Yeah, so there's currently no parking and there's proposed no parking.
There's nowhere, right?
Where do they park?
Walk ons. Like,
Yeah.
people to receipt now, probably park on the. Yeah, on going on the trunk road on the street side parking,
Blackberry.
the library.
Yeah.
And you're in line.
Yeah. Well, they get a ticket. It's an expensive dinner.
I didn't see the drawings where they want to put a 6-foot fence.
Oh, yeah, on the site plan, it says new 6-foot fence at the back corner, so, maybe I can hold up the site plan.
That's our fence separating the properties.
So what it's showing here is essentially the back being garbage area, recycling area, propane tank, and this says new 6-foot fence along here. And
What are you talking about?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, interior to their space.
Can you see where his cursor is? So is that your fence,
So
Randy?
this
Yeah.
part says new 6-foot fence.
Oh, all right,
There's this.
there's a fence there already.
Yeah, yeah.
I think so, yeah, but it's not probably 6 feet.
Not
I'm
like,
happy to jump in, if you'd like, Daniel, I can provide a little more in-depth.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, happy to, and I know that this is a question I was looking to discuss with my neighbors. So looking at the exterior of the property, and I appreciate you guys taking the time with this one because it really has come together quickly, and I know that this has been put in front of you rather quickly, and there's a lot of everything's fluid with it, and there's a lot of decisions that were made fairly recently, so everything's very much up in the air. As far as the question of the fencing, Daniel's correct that we're looking to remove the fencing along Trunk Road to open up the patio area to make it more of a welcoming environment rather than shut off. The atrium will be a feature for the full service restaurant, but the picnic table seating area, the existing fruit tree which is there will be maintained with some seating around it. We're going to do paving stones around that, removing what was previously a wooden deck that was put in by the previous operator was removed. So we're going to take those footings out and do paving stones. We're looking to make it more of a public space right now. We feel that the exterior of the property has been underutilized in a lot of ways. Obviously, when it comes to the restaurant concept, our goal was to increase the seating capacity to make it viable, which is the atrium, which would provide a 3-season enclosure to increase our seating capacity. The remainder of the property, we really want to make it a little more interactive for people, welcome them in. We're providing some picnic table seating, which is really kind of a self-service area. We will be providing takeout food, and we're welcoming people to eat there. If people want to grab something from Paradise Grill and eat there, they're welcome to do that as well. The idea behind the artisan tents area, it's really just a space that we wanted to kind of welcome people into, and whether that's artisans setting up, some tables to sell their handmade jewelry or handcrafts or things like that, just to be able to provide more of a public gathering space. We recognize that the fence along the east side there, which borders the marina property, will stay. It's not part of our intention to remove that fence in any way or to create any openings. The idea behind going to a 6-foot fence in the back is really just to hide the propane tank and to hide the garbage area and to hide the recycling area. So we're just looking to increase the height of it so that it's not, if you walk along that path now, which I believe is a sewer easement towards the marina, and you look over that fence, which I believe is only about a 4 to 5 foot fence, it's pretty ugly. So we would like to hide that section of it. But the remainder of it, which is anything north of the artisan tent store, would remain as the existing fence. We don't want to disturb that at all. So really the intent of the new 6-foot fence is really just to keep the ugly out of sight. That's about it, to hide the garbage area. And whether that's constructing our own fence behind that or whether that's removing the boards and just increasing the height of that fence, we're happy to do that. If that answers the question.
Gotcha. Ronnie, does that answer it for you?
Yeah.
And I also welcome any other questions. I know that this is brand new, but what we're looking to do basically is to rejuvenate the property. We're in the same situation, having taken on this project in which there's not much that we can do with the property, considering the sewer situation. We cannot do anything to add capacity. We can't rezone, we can't redevelop, and you know, I understand the timeline involved is quite lengthy. So for us, we're looking to revitalize the building itself and reinvigorate the business as a restaurant. That building has been around for a long time, 30 plus years on this island. Has always been a restaurant, and we're going to look to maintain that. We're not looking to make any substantial changes to the interior. There's going to be no demising walls being taken down. We're really just looking to all of the interior cosmetically, kitchen equipment and everything. Do the same to the outside. Right now, I think that the outside has a lot of overgrowth of greenery. There's a lot of invasive vines that have taken over the building that we need to get back to you know, make them, you know, the vines that have kind of overcome the property a little bit, and I will address those with my neighbors as well, because I know that they've become a problem all around those properties. But I think that right now it's just a matter of you know, removing some of the exterior cladding, refinishing it, repainting it, and revitalizing the property.
And the next step for you would be to come back to us with a more elaborate presentation, I take it.
Well, again, as Daniel said, the application was spurred by this atrium. Without the need to do the atrium enclosure, there wasn't much process for me to go through as far as permitting. Understandably, anything done to the exterior would come before this committee, and I appreciate that. So looking at the permitting process, and I'm not the one to maybe to answer this question, but I believe I need a building permit for the atrium, which triggers the development permit as well. Now, with that, you know, will come along the parking variance, and I can tell you that this property is operated without any specific parking. I do have the ability to provide parking on site, but that would obviously take away from the public gathering space. It would take away from street parking. It really makes no sense to anybody. I'm sure if I was to remove the lovely tree and put parking spots in where the picnic tables are, it really just seems quite silly. So if I do go through the process with council to look at a variance for parking, really what I'm looking for is the status quo of what it always has been on that property, which there is no dedicated parking for the property. And it's, you know, it just when looking at a property of this size or a project of this size, which is a restaurant, and the amount of money I'll be putting into it, and with the limitations with the sewer capacity, there's not a lot of opportunity within the budget to provide additional payments in lieu of parking. So it may be a bit of a deal breaker for me to move forward with that atrium concept if I'm not able to do it without adding additional parking. I'm certainly willing to work with what we have in the neighborhood to see if there's opportunities to provide better parking opportunities and things like that. But right now it's a difficult thing for me to wrap my head around as far as what kind of parking options could be provided on that property. It's kind of the same with most of the properties in the Cove. They just don't have the opportunity to do parking, unfortunately.
You know, Glenn, my gut feeling is that the amount of seating you'd be putting in that atrium would be similar to what's out on the deck.
It's identical.
And if that's the case,
yeah, a little less actually, yeah. Sorry,
what you're dealing with is a potential parking issue in the summer that's the same as it was.
Yeah.
And the outdoor space that you're providing to people that hasn't been a part of their world, those aren't folks that are going to be driving to those picnic tables. They're going to be wandering around and looking for a place to sit.
Yeah.
That's
so I don't see an increase in parking issues that aren't already there. So
yeah.
Yeah, and it should be noted as well that the concept for the restaurant, sorry to cut you off there, is the concept for the restaurant is a breakfast dining place. It's a full service breakfast establishment. So you know, we do get a lot of the foot traffic in the afternoons, but the breakfast crowd is really what we're going after, which a lot of it is the ferry traffic already, which is there. Sorry, Otis.
Oh, that's okay. I believe you have 26 seats in here on this plan, but I'm fairly sure there's more than 26 inside prior to this. Is that correct?
The only thing I've eliminated is bar seating. So I've taken away the bar stools themselves. and I've taken away a booth seat, which is now where the service station is. So I eliminated one table and the seats at the bar, and that's really just to
And the
accommodate.
big center table that held quite a few, but I might be wrong. I just eat.
Well, that's the center table. It's still down the middle there, 8 to 10 people.
Okay.
And if you keep that atrium nicely warm in the winter, yeah, you've got a full season, 4-season facility.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you go back, if you're able to go back to the conceptual pictures of the exterior, it does show that one there. It does show what we're looking for. It's a substantial atrium. It's not going to be anything small. I mean, we're looking to increase our seating capacity on a 3 to 4 season basis. So full roof enclosure. It'll be heated. It'll be powered with lighting. The windows do all drop down in the summertime, so it'll be nice open space. There's secure doors on both sides, which will increase our security. And it also does enclose the exterior doors, which are currently they're a bit troublesome when it comes to keeping that room warm in the wintertime. So it kind of solves a lot of our problems, and it also truly makes the project viable.
Sue Ellen, was there something you were going to say?
Just letting you know I was still here, just
okay.
finishing my pizza. Thank you.
Gotcha. Those atriums are tricky. They can be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Very European and robust and strong and warm inside, or they can be terrible.
Yeah.
It's all about the product.
Yeah.
And keeping it clean, I would say. We
have a few seagulls.
We have hidden covers on some of docks going down, and it's a lot to keep them clean with the rain around here and the mold.
Yeah.
Others?
I applaud the fact that you're going to open it up and rather than it stay shuttered and to be able to open up the space to the public. I see that as a great benefit to the cove, because I see so many people walking around not knowing where to sit for even 5 minutes, right? You know, and just clogging up the coffee shop.
That opening up will be good for the whole cove.
Oh yeah, yes, totally.
Sue Ellen, I think I saw a hand up that time.
Thank you. I'm just channeling for David Riddell, who's on the chat.
You want to read it?
Okay. He says he likes that the property will be renewed and revitalized, very similar to how Barcelona has worked out the old Beaumart and no parking. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Well, I certainly welcome looking at your next iteration, particularly that atrium. I'd love to see you take more of the fence down personally, but I think there's a grade change between the two, potentially.
No.
You're
pretty flat.
Yeah, back where the propane tank lies in the garbage area there is a bit of a drop off, but it can easily be brought up to grade if need be. But it's all flat from the east fence inward. So yeah, I mean the opportunity is there to take that fence down if the marina is so inclined to do that. And as I say, I mean opening that space up to a public space that could be utilized by any walk-by traffic, by takeout food from us or Paradise Grill or Docks. It's to me, it's just a way to create some activity in front of the property, and to I think the marina's done a wonderful job with their grassy area there, and I think just opening that up would be nice. But again, it's something that we can discuss.
Yep, excellent.
Can we put aside and we weren't looking for or needing any recommendation? There's not like an application before you, so just I think that feedback.
Yeah,
helpful.
Oh, we welcome the next iteration. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the colors and the use of shingles you're suggesting create the cove feel, especially that end of the cove, keeps that older
Yep.
look.
Maybe just some understanding of what you'd like to see, Mike, in regards to the next iteration, because as I say, what I'm looking for now is permitting on the atrium. There can be obviously full drawings done for that. The foundation will be a concrete slab with finishing inside. So as far as the next reiteration, is there anything specific I can provide more detail on?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts, but firstly, one of them, I know you've shown doors out to the atrium. Do you have doors proposed to go out to that outdoor seating area, the benches?
Yeah, they're basically on the north and south side of the atrium.
Oh,
So
right.
they're not opening up the east wall of the atrium towards it. Those will all be opening windows. So all those windows drop down.
Okay.
So if you're seated at those tables, you'll feel like you're part of the outdoor picnic area. But it's not a throughway from the interior. You'd have to go out from the exits on the north and south sides of the atrium.
Gotcha. Because you know, if I were looking for more information, I'd probably want to see what extrusions and what actual pieces you were going to use in that atrium, because it's going to be such a massive character add to that building.
Yes. Yeah.
And your color theme for what you plan to do for the exterior of the existing component.
Okay. Okay.
Any window changes, that sort of thing as well, but I don't think you're proposing any.
Yeah, there's not a lot when it comes to that building as far as exterior. As Otis mentioned, we'll be looking at some new siding with some fresh cedar shingles, some new color designs, getting away from the current color theme. And there's just a lot of windows to that building, so it really does. It'll feel much more open with that atrium add-on. And I can certainly appreciate that atrium will be a little bit of a fishbowl. So seeing what's inside that, I think, is important. So that's good feedback.
Great.
Maybe a sketch of what the signage is going to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Probably some elaboration on your planters too, what species and so on, what you're planning to do there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the planters that I expect out on that the initial design page there were similar to what's in front of the yeah, they kind of start as a steel. I'm actually using them at the pub as well for a division on the upper patio, and I stole that idea from the distillery, and they have a similar. It's a steel planter that rusts naturally when the elements. And I think when it comes to the plantings in them, I mean, it really depends on if I want to have low plantings or if we want to have a barrier. And I think keeping it low would be nice. So it could be seasonal annuals that are planted in their flowers. It could be grasses, things like that. But yeah, love the feedback. We certainly haven't thought that through yet.
Yep. Looks great. Really does. Going to be really, really special to have that open up to the sidewalk.
Yeah, we think so. And I think, you know, as I say, as we move through this, it's certainly early days for us. We only took possession of the building last week, and I wanted to get this before you, knowing that you hadn't met for a while and just getting some early feedback. So we've got a path ahead of us, and you know, I look forward to being able to bring back some new concepts and ideas, and working with the neighbors to see how we can incorporate it into their look as well.
But one last thought. You may be looking to replace rooftop units. Anything you can do to sort of mitigate the appearance of them is always appreciated.
Yeah, that is a very visible rooftop. That's kind of stood out to me. What I can say is, having been up there, there is obviously the kitchen ventilation unit up there. What the building is lacking right now is a makeup air unit to replace the air that's taken out of the kitchen, which is why that building is so freezing cold in the wintertime. We do look to put another mechanical unit up there for makeup air. Hopefully, if we do a rooftop signage option, it could hide some of that. I have also been approached, and this is again, the roof goes back a ways, but I've been approached by a group that's looking to put some weather stations in the cove, and they've been very persistent looking at flat roof areas, and I've kind of put them off, but I bring that before the committee as well. They're looking to have a weather station on top of that roof, and I'm not sure if I'm game for it or not, but there certainly is going to be more mechanical units, or at least one mechanical unit put on that roof. So yeah, we can certainly discuss that. And as I say, properly placed signage might help to mitigate some of that.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Glenn.
Yeah.
Question? Yeah, Ron.
It looks like you're building clear to our property line on the backside. You'll remove all those ivy then?
The ivy that's right now we have two firewalls that butt up against each other. The firewall on my building is only partial. Your firewall extends the entire angled distance there. And I did want to talk about those ivies. I know that they're hiding a big ugly firewall, but they're also getting to the point now where they've become rather invasive to my property and are doing a little bit of damage to the building. And we need to get into that and get under the fascia boards and soffits and remove all the vines that are coming out. And it's really just a long-term plan as far as what this committee would be an ideal committee to provide comment on, as well as what that your firewall there would ideally want to look like. If you want to maintain vines, then we probably should get on a system of maintenance, or if we want to do something different with that wall. I know that the vines as well on the west corner, right between Squirrel, there's a little pathway there. There's a vine that's taken over the TELUS pole that we're going to have to get cut back. So vines are certainly top of my list to deal with, and certainly a conversation with Rod Unitas to figure out what a plan might be. Whether you want to continue with the look of the vines, whether we want to look at that firewall, remove the vines, paint it, and maybe do some sort of public art or mural or something like that. And obviously this committee would certainly chime in on that as well.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'd love to see how you plan to deal with it.
Yeah, the vines are lovely in the summertime. They do lose their greenery in the winter, and it does look considerably different. So it may not be the best year-round solution, but I'm open to conversations on that for sure.
Great. I think we're good. I think we've seen need to see. Glenn, thanks for bringing that forward. It was really, really handy to see applications at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad I got the opportunity. If there's no more questions for me, I can sign off. Then you guys can finish your meeting. Is that?
I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think we're good. We don't need to make any recommendations at this stage, do we? No, good.
Okay.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right,
Thanks for your time, everybody. Okay, have a good night.
Site plan, proposed design. Recommendation, preliminary comments.
We don't need it.
We don't need it.
I can make a list of what you're asking for next time.
Well done. New business. Is any other business to attend to?
Just as placekeeper.
Yeah, I know. I know we left the hanging that provision to the guidelines.
Yes.
Can we just leave it hanging for a bit?
Well, we don't have anyone on the municipality side.
That's looking at it right now. I don't think.
No, it's not it's like it's not on our work plan.
Perfect.
Okay.
I hope to revive it.
Yeah.
I do really hope to, and
It'd be really nice.
I know, I feel like it's 90% of the way there.
Yeah, yeah.
Also fast as a comment.
Sue Ellen? Oh, you're up there.
Hi. Yeah,
You're no
thank you,
longer under
everybody.
the laptop.
I just think it's great to get back together with the advisory design panel. And after the 2 years, I'm keen to help. I was part of the group before, as you know, who was bringing those guidelines, the draft updated guidelines together, and I look forward to working on it. And it is in our strategic plan, which is in the info items. It's a more vague plan than usual, but or than the last few years, but it does have the bubbles, and one of them is complete work that has been started, and we want to. This council wants to do that, so I just wanted to say hello to some new faces. So thanks.
Wonderful.
That's it.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. Appreciate it. I think we move to adjourn. All in favor? Perfect.
Bye, Christina.
I don't know where the camera is. I'm looking at.
I know, I look there, but there's actually.
You're looking at the back of my head.